on the slide here, you're able to see my journey in short, starting from undergraduate years, just like you all, to being a faculty that I am right now, right? The most inspirational Honorable ex-President of India, Dr. Kalam, met face to face in Rashtrapati Bhavan to cheer us on one project that I started in 9th grade. And it was 12th grade by when I could meet him after representing India in Japan for making low-calorie biscuits out of banana peel pulp. Okay. So while that was there, this photo in between shows a representative of the invisible I had to go to climb the ladder to the faculty that I am. That photo is from Colorado State University, where I went for master's first, and it was my first job in the US, earned $73 a month, counted nothing, but at least could be proud that I could pay for some of the breads that I ate there. And that job also reminded me of my first teaching that scared the students so much that they ran away and never came back. From that to being awarded teaching excellence now was quite a journey because of the invisibles that I have gone through. So let me take you through some of them. Maybe you'll resonate with some of the questions that I have for you. So first one, how many of you would like to probably go abroad? Fantastic, quite a bunch. And may I ask you now why? There could be a lot of reasons. Let me guess some of them. Perhaps it is the glamour. Perhaps you want to make money. Perhaps this is your call. Or you want to have a foreign wife or husband. But let me tell you, friends, when I went out there, starting with masters, the reality that stood me in face was dishes every night, waiting for them to be cleaned, carpet to be vacuumed, cooking to be figured out, and all of this on top of finding a place to live, figuring out those driving zip cars, groceries, employments and taxes while we are studying, right? And then I reflect on this question, what would I be though without these invisible tests? Reflecting on where I started again with banana peel, which earned me the honor to meet Honorable ex-President. The peel that would have otherwise made me fall and slip from it actually made me represent India and earn a patent. But it didn't start without an invisible test. In fact, the first cookie I made, which I attempted out of 50% banana peel pulp, I ran in sheer excitement in the oven, to the oven, looking at the biscuit, and here I try to pick it up and it melts like a wax. It was never cooked. It was never baked because the moisture content was so much that was a first failure in that project. From there to figuring out the optimized content of the banana peel pulp, 0, 10, 20%, looking at the right aroma, crispiness, nutrition value, fibers, etc., was not without the invisible support of the bakery man in Nanded or that oven that stood all of our tests. From there to all of the team that we could form, the 10 representatives of India, each of them had these invisibles that stood behind them to earn that spot. On my left there is Janani Preeti, who was in fact also denied a hotel room first because she carried with her a box full of mosquitoes because she was developing a herbal medicine to shoo them away. Well, such were the invisible tests that we went through. Few years down the line, went for my PhD and got to visit in California geologically active site called Yellowstone. Beautiful colors, red, teal blue, that you're seeing in the sapphire pool there, wowed us all. But what we did not see at play were those amazing microbes working with sulfur and iron that actually wowed us. Similarly, I noticed people flocked to see 40 feet high geysers that erupted, flocking every few minutes. But what we did not see was the invisible force at play, which was the pressure building up beneath that actually gave rise to these geysers in the first place, right? And not without this pressure, it would have wowed us, right? Coming back, I think, into the biology world, there were a lot of such invisibles that attracted me for bioengineering. Just like that pressure in a geologically active volcanic ground, we have in biology, if I just showed you these two circles, it wouldn't mean anything. But if I talk to you about this amazing blood vessel trying to make its way to a scratched skin matrix to be able to supply oxygen and nutrients for the cells to form a matrix. And if you look at it through a microscope and through a bioengineering lens, you see all this orchestrated event going across with the cell-to-cell talk, some extracellular matrix acting as a storage depot for factors, growth factors, and intracellular communication going on, all at play to make our one scratch repair. So that attracted me to another invisible world of how could we engineer in lab soft tissue biografts that might be helpful in cases where there are not just scratches but large wounds, such as in armies injuries or in diabetic foot ulcers or when someone has a congenital defect. So could we make a matrix that could also deliver growth factors to that site so that it attracts that blood vessel soon and repair that matrix? So we looked at what was existing and found that it wasn't sufficient enough to provide because of these limitations such as poor mechanical integrity, fast release of factors that did not withstand the test of the invisibles. So here I was in the lab. This is the midnight picture, trying to design my own system on a rheometer. What you're seeing here is a device which actually measures storage modulus and loss modulus and tracks how from a solid matrix it goes to a liquid by looking at the phase change. And while the rheometer comes with this all cones and plate geometry, it doesn't come with the silicon ring and a sort of the enzyme that you have to add to it. So we had to figure out another invisible. What is that enzyme in the wound? What is its concentration? How would it degrade our matrix? And when it does, do we actually prove any difference from the conventional biografts that it withstands longer? And this was my gold medal after performing this test in the midnight. When I sent the results to my advisor, next morning in lab meeting, she was there with this board, clapping with the lab mates, telling me, "Congratulations, Rucha, you have shown in that red graph that our matrix we engineered in lab has withstood minutes apart in this conversion from solid to liquid. So when it degraded, it was minutes apart, confirming what we were trying to prove." That meant a world, but it wasn't the end of the story. When we prove something in the lab, we have to also prove that it works in vivo in the complex environment, complex bodies that we are. So I had to show this in vivo in a chicken egg embryo test, which has a chorioallantoic membrane. So the blood vessel membrane you're seeing, if I put the biograft on top of it, could I see the blood vessels being triggered, more and more blood vessels being attracted to it in a spoke wheel pattern? So here I am in the lab trying to figure out how to open this egg in the first place to see the membrane of these blood vessels. So I have to take this Dremel inside a sterile hood and work out a solution so that I remove the eggshell in the live chicken egg, which is artificially fertilized, in order to access this blood vessel membrane and see that it actually helps these blood vessels to grow faster. But the question was how to see where do I actually cut this eggshell? Because if you hold an egg, all you see in a light is a white opaque oval, right? So if I cut somewhere, it could damage the insides, right? So turns out a simple test of holding the egg in a dark room near a flashlight actually shows where there is an empty space in the egg which is safer to cut, right? Wonderful. Figured out where to cut it. But it is not as simple as that, because turns out the size of this air cell is different on 7th day, 14th day and 18th day of embryonic fertilization. So I cannot cut it on the same place if I am at a different day. If I mark on the egg today and then sleep and come back tomorrow, the position of that sac would have changed. So again, we have to take another invisible test. So the torch that was there was my invisible friend support in this experiment. So there's some representative pictures of day 3, day 6 and day 8 egg, how you're seeing the blood vessels growing. And so here I am now figured out how to access that chorioallantoic membrane. I'm able to put my biograft we have engineered in the lab. But the question is how to see the contrast after putting the biograft. And this is for all engineers, while there are image analysis techniques, how to actually helpfully use those in order to make any qualitative and quantitative fruitful assessments. So here, this is a small snapshot of you seeing me frustrated through the moving of all of these instruments inside, including a digital camera in the hood. Let's see if... So, turns out, okay, to be able to see this image, maybe I adjust the light of the hood, but that is the best I can get, and it doesn't tell me whether the blood vessels around the biograft are doing any better or worse. Okay, so I figured out, okay, maybe that torch friend bring back and then hook it on the top, turn off all the other lights. A little better view, but not really still what I wanted. Then came along another invisible friend, which was heavy cream and a phosphate buffer saline solution mixed in 50-50% ratio that cleared that contrast for me so much so that I could actually then make evaluations of all of these biografts with the picture in D showing the best results for a spoke wheel pattern that were then quantified by manually counting these blood vessels. Histology at play, another invisible world with markers such as eosine and host dyes confirmed that we were able to form these blood vessels inside the biograft, not just on the membrane, on the superficial wall of the biograft. So that wasn't the end of it in bioengineering. After my PhD, in the postdoc, my advisor comes and says, Rucha, you have been tasked to teach one course on computer-aided design. You've done a good work in all of this CAM and biografts, but could you please teach this course also to our students? And I knew nothing of computer-aided design at the time. Took up the challenge, and with the invisible salt support, what I'd like to show you in the next picture, I was able to present these models that were taught to the students, designed by the students in teams in the best conference of US Biomedical Engineering Society, BMES. And I realized that it wasn't without this white colored salt beneath the hearing aid that you're seeing here that I would have been able to print any of these objects, because the salt is leached away beneath this ABS polymer. But without it in the first place, the resolution and the polymer wouldn't be able to sit on anything. Yet the salt doesn't get wowed, right? What we clap for were these models that remained. Okay, so that was about the research. Winding up some small snapshots from what I gained in also outside research invisible world. This is a photo from my scuba diving certification test. Went there from Cancun airport, was mesmerized with this giant turtles and a manta ray and this corals that we are not supposed to touch, and forgot that my oxygen has actually ran out, the cylinder ran out. And that was a test in that moment. I didn't have 3 years to grow a blood vessel and supply oxygen in that moment. So in a split second, you have to decide that you have to call a buddy, and then you have to do the buddy oxygen breathing technique, and then one breath your body takes, one breath you take, and then you come at a certain speed up, because if you come too fast, it crushes your lungs. So that invisible test taught me the value of life in that moment. So again, from being able to learn at Purdue, in a place where Neil Armstrong went, and being able to see their footsteps was a big honor, but it wasn't without these invisible tests that it made me who I am today. And while I was doing all this, finding my own spine in the career after joining University of California, Davis as an assistant professor, my baby was also finding the spine at the same time. So juggling that was another invisible test, which one could manage at times with creative plating techniques because you didn't have time to fully cook. And then it resulted in accidental incidences, such as you ending up giving hottest pepper in the world to your baby to cut, thinking it is the sweetest pepper in the farmer's market that you brought, and your husband had exchanged the places of it. And then you have to rely on the other invisible force, your parents, to sort that matter out by rubbing coconut on her face. And holding us all together is the husband, Shashank Tamaskar, who is also the invisible force behind this drama that we are having every day. So I think there is the team behind these invisibles that we live every day. So while this is a picture from Purdue Marathi Mandal, about 200 teammates were there to support what we are seeing in those journeys there. Similarly, other invisible force that I am grateful to is my mentors and advisors that were there in that every single test in the journey. This is a picture from my windshield at Purdue in a snowstorm. And this is also a picture from my windshield of the car at Purdue. The second one is beautiful crystals that you're wowed, and that leaves me a couple of thoughts. Choose the right outlook, choose possibility over uncertainty. And remember the invisible that has brought you the visible so far. Because the world sees these accolades, but only you can see yourself in the mirror like this. Thank you all.